What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got some Destiny 2 news to jump in with. And firstly, Bungie have some updates for the game, including a couple of important fixes, plus they clarify some things about the next game update for June, and they unlock a new emblem for Season 17. But additionally, we get info about their plans for future season updates, and we'll also cover an upcoming story event for the season, as well as a hidden quest, plus a cheeky look at some Solstice loot, and a few other things inside of the video. But firstly guys, today the video is sponsored by Star Trek Fleet Command, the ultimate mobile strategy game for Star Trek fans, which is available to play for free right now on Android and iOS devices, as well as on PC. Star Trek Fleet Command is an RPG game where we can build and upgrade our own space station and invest in some awesome ships by exploring star systems and discovering resources to build up our fleet. There are various quests and missions to complete in order to level up and upgrade our base, where we can both join new alliances and meet new players, but also battle against other players, and there are various events taking place in these vibrant galaxies. And Fleet Command recently received its Lower Decks update, which features a bunch of new officers including Tendi and Rutherford, who can increase the health of the ship and its officers. But there are also more than 30 new missions, including core activities, as well as side missions with self-contained stories from the universe. On top of this, strange new worlds officers are arriving this month in the June update, with a new story and familiar characters from the TV series, including Spock and Captain Pike. But core updates also introduce new abilities, buffs, and more. So now is a perfect time to check out the game on your platform of choice. And you guys can join the fleet and play Star Trek Fleet Command with me today by scanning the QR code on screen or following the link in the description to download the game. So be sure to check that out, and thanks again to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring the video. Now though, let's get into the Destiny content for today. One of the first things worth mentioning, but Bungie have unlocked a new exclusive Bungie Rewards emblem called Operation Caliente, and it's a solar emblem that we can earn by getting 7,777 final blows inside of Season 17. And so if you sign up for Bungie Rewards, go ahead and check out that page, which is also linked down below, and you'll be able to unlock that new emblem once you get all of the kills, of course. Next though, some game updates from Bungie, and initially Bungie help tweeted that they fixed an issue where Master Raid challenges in Vault of Glass were not active, and players should now be able to complete all Master challenges. And of course that's alongside Vault of Glass being the featured raid this week. Also worth noting on that subject, but according to a lot of reports, Vex Mythoclast inside of Vault of Glass this week is actually farmable. As far as we know, this isn't intended, but it was the same last week with Eyes of Tomorrow in Deepstone Crypt. And a lot of players this week are saying that they've got Vex Mythoclast after multiple runs on this same character. And so if you can get a team together, apparently it is possible to farm the Atheon encounter for that reward. And so it could be something worth bearing in mind if you're still after the weapon. For the Nightfalls though, Bungie Help said that they're investigating a problem where some players are reporting the incorrect version of the Horror's Least pulse rifle from this week's Nightfall. And so I believe right now it is possible to get the updated version of Horror's Least, but also inside of the activity, it's entirely possible to get the old Sunset version of Horror's Least as well. Definitely frustrating that that one's diluting the loot pool, so we'll have to wait for further updates on that from Bungie. And despite some updates this week, which we'll touch on in a moment, players pointed out that anti-barrier sidearm still isn't working, and TMG said, looks like this one is rooted a bit deeper in code than anticipated, and we're targeting a June 28 hotfix, so stay tuned for official announcements from Bungie Help or TWAB. And so for the moment, a couple of weeks' time, we're going to be getting another hotfix towards the end of June, and hopefully that'll be fixed in that update. More potential future updates right here, and Mercules from Bungie said, on the subject of aerial effectiveness, the plan long-term is to allow more ways to build into AE that aren't just Exotic Armor and Icarus. Season 17 was the first pass, and we're aware that it feels limited in terms of build crafting. So the first thing we need to do is make sure all of the parts are working as intended in the wild. So interesting right there, Bungie are looking at more ways to build into that stat, and as possible we'll get additional updates in Season 18 and beyond. So give us your thoughts about that, but also we got a new hotfix this week. And some of the important fixes include that moving forward, the Grasp of Avarice dungeon will only drop a pinnacle reward upon completion when it is the featured dungeon of the week. However, they add that encounter completions during non-featured weeks have the chance to drop a powerful reward, and so that one will be moving to pinnacles only inside of the raid and dungeon rotation. However, for trials, they fixed a problem where players were not appropriately matched based on win count, and with the issue fixed, the Flawless Pool and Flawless Pool loot will once again be enabled on Sundays at 10 AM Pacific. So Flawless Pool is coming back this week by the looks of it. And finally, for gameplay and investment, they say the well-rounded perk will no longer trigger when a player cancels a charged melee. And so a few updates right there, and I will link the full patch notes down below, although a lot of the other fixes were bugs and things like that. And here, let's have a quick mention for the story this week. And following last week with the Zavala cutscene, which was very cool, in this week's mission we managed to sever the nightmare of Sophia, of course Zavala's wife, and this gave him the opportunity to come to terms with his nightmares aboard Leviathan, but also to find some closure. So in case you wanted to check out that dialogue, this is what he had to say.
When I first saw Sophia return as a nightmare, I was afraid. I didn't want her to reveal what I'd done. I did everything I could to save Hakim. I can accept that now. But back then, guilt, like gravity, warps our perception of what is real. His death carved out a place in me. And everyone I lose under my command only compounds that feeling. Sophia knew that. She understood that losing him only pushed me further toward being a guardian. She knew that I couldn't stand by and watch the world burn. Because in her own way, neither could she. After everything we faced aboard the Leviathan, I'm left to wonder, have I made the right choices? I don't regret all the good the city has done, or that I was a part of it. But what it took to get here, what it's taken to keep it. Our minds weren't meant for this many years. Like so many other things, we have a word for eternity, without the capacity to comprehend what it actually means. When is enough? Enough. Maybe it's time to let go.
Following this, Eris also finished up by saying that we're poised to strike the final blow, and so it looks like we could be looking at a climatic moment in the story for this season in the next couple of weeks, but as always, we'll have to wait and see. Up next though, some remaining future content for Season 17 right here, and so a spoiler alert is absolutely necessary. It looks like we're going to get some interesting progression in the story, potentially even a kind of end of season event or something like that. And there's an image from one of the silver bundles for Eververse this season that shows the helm with all of the kind of spores and corruption that we see aboard Leviathan at the moment. And interestingly, players have discovered that you can actually see some of the kind of particle effects of these egregore spores in the helm right now. So they are pretty faint, but obviously these are partially visible and are there as part of a visual update that Helm is going to get at some point during this seasonal story. And without getting into specific story spoilers, there is a quest, and it's called High Alert Anomaly Detected Helm. And we need to travel to the helm where we'll receive an ominous message. And obviously, upon our arrival, we're going to see that the helm has been affected by this corruption. It's possibly the case that this could stem from the Crown of Sorrow and the wing currently being used for the content this season, which presumably is why the Cabal are guarding the room with this kind of shower in the entrance to clean us off before we spread the spores all over the rest of the helm. So it looks like there's possibly going to be some kind of incident there, although of course there could be other story explanations. There's also a couple of cinematic sections that Bungie showed off in the trailer for this season as well. So in the first we see Eris right here, witnessing something in the skyline over the moon. Don't believe that one's played out in the game currently. And the other one has Zavala and Keitel in the forefront right there. Looks like we've got Crow and the Guardian in the background as well. This is potentially taking place in a pyramid structure. There are some of those strange statues that we see in some of that architecture, and even in the Enclave on Mars, that appear to be in the background right there. So the story is definitely going to continue to take some interesting twists and turns throughout the course of the season. And I'm definitely interested to see what takes place in the Helm. So as always, give us your thoughts down below. A couple of other extra things here that are interesting. And Destiny Bulletin shared some icons right here for the Solstice 2022 armor, originally shared by somebody called Elliot. These are the images that actually sit on the thumbnails for pieces of gear, so it doesn't give us a massively detailed look, but we get the overall kind of impression of what these pieces will appear like. With a similar Solstice style, and apparently some pretty cool glows will be present as well. As we previewed before, there is a Solstice weapon in the form of a hand cannon this season. And Josh Hunt from Destiny Sets also shared an origin trait for the Solstice weapon, and this is called Dreamwork. Once per reload, assists or assisted final blows partially refill the weapon from reserves, potentially overflowing the magazine. So a teamwork focused origin trait right there. Of course, the event is coming up next month, so I'm sure Bungie will give us more information as we get closer. And the final thing to mention is Bungie's continued efforts to grow the studio. They are currently hiring a lot of people, and we know that they're expanding the studio that they've got in Seattle, as well as opening buildings in other areas. And currently they're looking for a lead engineer for the engine platforms and partnerships team at Bungie to extend the technology that games rely on to meet players wherever they play, including improving the performance and capabilities that Bungie have, as well as upgrading their hardware and technologies. And of course, as Bungie work towards becoming a multi-IP studio and also a multimedia company in a much wider sense as they're going to publish Destiny content in other formats, they're certainly seeing some pretty expansive growth right now, all geared towards continuing to support Destiny 2, but also to wrap up the other titles that they've got working in progress at the moment. So could be a lot of stuff to look forward to in the years coming up for Bungie. And as always, give us any thoughts once we get any information about potential future projects. I'll definitely let you guys know. But as always for today, if you've enjoyed the video, a rating down below really does help us out on the channel. Share any thoughts you have in the comments section, as well as getting subscribed if you're new around here, as I can keep you up to date with everything related to Destiny. Otherwise though, for now, as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I hope you have an awesome day.